Day, everybody. Walter, the Palmetto Cemeterian here. I surely hope you're doing well today. I am heading down to the Garrison Family Cemetery in Piedmont, South Carolina. It's a cemetery where I've got a lot of family buried. It's not actively used much anymore, so it's going to need some maintenance today. I have not been too active in the cemetery lately, unfortunately. A lot of stuff going on in life. Last year, I've gotten married, having a baby soon. All kinds of big stuff changing, some career stuff changing. But I haven't forgotten about it, that's for sure. So, I'm glad to have you joining me today. We're going to just do some basic, weed killing, weed whacking, pick up some sticks, deal with some leaves. And then on top of that, I hope to be able to clean some stones. I have probably 2 gallons of D2, and it's old at this point, so I'm not too sure on how that's going to perform, but if anything, it just won't work as well as it used to. So we're going to do what we can to help, and hopefully we'll be able to get some of the stones looking a little bit nicer and brighten the place up a little bit. It's really not in horrible shape. The grass has been cut for a few years now. It is maintained periodically, and by whom, I don't really know. I think maybe a cousin of mine was doing some of the maintenance or hired somebody to do some of it. So thankfully it's not one of those disasters that is unfortunately more common than one of the nicer, more well cared for cemeteries. So yeah, we'll get down there, we'll do some cleanup, I'll show you some neat stuff, show you some cool people that are buried there, some fascinating markers. Most of them are in okay condition, some have fallen over, some have broken, but for the most part it's pretty good. I don't think it's suffered the same vandalism that a lot of other cemeteries in the area have, knock on wood. But I haven't been back in at least a year to this place. So we'll see what it looks like. I'll show you when I see it, and you'll see it with me. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you soon. Well, folks, here we are. This is the Garrison Family Cemetery. Have some ancestors and aunts and uncles buried here. So I'm a descendant of David Garrison, who came here in the 1780s, as you can see, and operated a grist mill not far from here at Garrison Shoals. So the original Garrison Cemetery is actually lost, unfortunately, where the original Garrison settlers are buried. Sadly, nobody knows where it is. There is a very rough, very vague description online of where the original Garrison Cemetery is. However, I have never been able to figure out exactly where it is. As far as I know, there are 3 people buried here, or buried there at the original Garrison Cemetery. That would be David Charles Garrison Sr. His wife, I believe her name was Martha Wood Garrison. I may be messing that up. They came from Rockingham, North Carolina, and settled here in Greenville, what would be Greenville County, in the 1780s. And they are fast at work back there. I won't delay in joining them here shortly. Get some of these fallen trees and branches from Hurricane Helene cleaned up. It really made a big mess here in Greenville, as well as many other places. But yeah, hopefully one day we'll find the original Garrison Cemetery. But I would say this is the second Garrison Cemetery, although it is absolutely very old. I think they started burying family here in the 1830s. And the reason I say that is because the third individual I know of buried in the original Garrison Cemetery is Peter Garrison, who was who'd be my great some odd uncle. And he was actually killed by a fugitive slave in 1825, 200 years ago this year. So he went out to his barn in the evening and went inside, not knowing there was anyone there. And he was attacked and, I believe, beaten to death with a stick that he kept in the barn, as the story goes. And the slave was actually captured, and very grisly, he was burned at the stake in the middle of Greenville, in the county square as it was in the 1820s. But all right, well, take a little look at the back of the cemetery here. Sorry, the chainsaw's running. This is the original part of it, the oldest part. You'll be able to tell the markers are going to get a lot older. These toppled a long time ago. There's some very interesting stone markers here. They're sort of like stone box tombs. Yeah, it looks a little rough back here. I hate to say it, but we're gonna fix that. This is a marker for David Garrison Sr, but he is not buried here. However, this is his son. I believe his name is Nehemiah Barksdale Garrison. Barksdale Dunham Garrison, excuse me. He was a War of 1812 veteran. Sorry about the camera shake here. I've had a lot of coffee this morning. But fantastic little cemetery. Very historic little place. Let's get to work. Last year, some friends, when we were out here performing some documentation and just doing some exploring, we discovered that there is the lonely box tomb of I think a little girl over here, which had been kind of just cut out of the cemetery. As you can see, there's that area over there is all clear, but over here, somehow, for some reason, like maybe it was just easier to maintain it, I don't know. But I hadn't forgotten about it. I thought of this little grave when we pulled up earlier. I can't quite make out the name looking at using my eyes and the camera, but I'll put it over the screen. I want to say she died in like 1840 something, maybe 1860 something, but we'll get all these pine needles off. That way she won't be forgotten. Pretty sure it's a young lady or a little girl. Sad. Well, we are building piles everywhere of all these fallen limbs and big old tree chunks. We're making it happen, one little bit at a time. I don't know how much we're gonna really get accomplished, but this fella here, William P. Mitchell, is a soldier. Looks like he sadly died in the Korean War. Very unfortunate. February 1951, so that would have been, I think the war started September 1950, if I could recall correctly. I might be wrong, but he would have been 20 years old, just shy of his 21st birthday. That's sad. I'll do some more research on him, and I'll put some stuff in the video about him. making it happen. That guy over there with the chainsaw is getting the work done. Here you can see what remains of the wrought iron fence that once encircled the Donald family plot. And sadly, it was stolen a few years ago. Somebody backed a truck up into here and hooked a ratchet strap or whatever to the fence and drove off with it, which is disgusting and sad, which is why we don't have nice things anymore. This area in particular, we are very close to the Charles Family Cemetery. Has a huge vandalism problem. Thankfully, fingers crossed, the Garrison Cemetery will not suffer any similar fate. Can only hope. I may talk to the owner of the property, who's also a Garrison descendant, here in the near future. Actually, within the next few minutes. I may discuss with her the possibility of putting up cameras here. And I'm definitely going to revisit putting up cameras in the Charles Cemetery also. I did have cameras for a little bit. I think I may have mentioned that in a previous video. There's certainly stuff about the cameras and some photos from that on my Instagram at Palmetto Cemetery, but they stopped working out of nowhere like a month after I installed them. So sorry for all the chainsaw, it's just part of the deal. I'm unpackaging the new pump sprayer here. We're about to fill it up with some D2, and we'll get to spraying some stones while the sunlight's hitting them real nice and you can really get a good look at them. So we'll get that started here in a second. We got our container all filled up and ready to go, and I'd say if we're gonna start by spraying something, we should probably start with the Garrison Cemetery marker at the front. So that's what we'll do. We'll soak it down with some of this old D2. Hopefully it'll still do the job. It's still got that bubbly fizz to it. Still smells the same. So we'll coat that and it'll get some good sunshine and sit out over the summer. Hopefully it'll end up looking pretty good. The back of it too some. All right, well, I will catch you on the next stone we're gonna soak down. Here we have the stone of Mary Donald as we get the brush going by. She was born in 1867 and died in 1904. It's a really cool headstone with a cross on the side of it, a Maltese cross. It's kind of hard to tell what's at the head of her stone. There's a Maltese cross on the other side. But, well, we've got some good light on it, and you can kind of see what it really looks like now in its present state with all the mold and discoloration. And we'll soak it down some real quick. Get a good coat on there. And you can see the D2 is still doing its job, even though it was in my truck for a long time. Soak the whole thing down. That is a D2 biological solution. It is a gravestone cleaner.
Sounds like my cologne. What's your cologne is? No, I'm not wearing it. Find all the graves.
It seems like a pretty good coat there. We'll let that sit, and I might scrub this one. I did bring some water and a couple of brushes, so got at least a few gallons. Here's the grave of Charles J. Garrison and Mary Jane Garrison, his wife. He would be like my great uncle, 4 greats, I think. He was the younger brother of my great grandfather going back 4 generations. So we'll get his stone a good coating. Hopefully that will help it look better. Get some of that natural gray color back out on the stone. These should get some pretty good sunlight, which will accelerate the D2. The heat really helps. This fellow here, I believe, is Barksdale Washington Garrison. He was born in 1841, died in 1905, 1906. I think he's a cousin of mine, so he would have been one of my great uncle's sons. Just trying to hit a variety through the cemetery. I'm pretty much going to use up the rest of this D2. I have a sprinkling more left in the container. Ooh, this is a pretty one. Wow, 1873 to 1890. Sally J. And it looks like a hand clutching a rose. That is beautiful, huh? How about that? What does it say at the bottom? Let's see. A precious me, a precious something. A precious one from us is gone. And that looks like something is still, maybe? Sadly, the stone is sunk down into the soil, but we'll put some D2 on it and get it cleaned up some. A few more pumps. Not doing a lot here today, but, you know, doing what we can. Sometimes you just got to do what you can. There's more cemeteries and more graves in need of care than there are people who are out there willing and able to care for them. So it's all the little things that matter, you know, a lot of the time. Hopefully this D2 will help her headstone look the best it can look. Go find some more. Another one of my uncle's graves, Nehemiah Washington Garrison. He's a Confederate veteran, as you can see. Spray around the flag there. Get the top too. Try to make sure I cover it evenly. Yes, sir, it is. Gotten pretty good at doing this one-handed. Even though I haven't filmed a video in ages. All right, we got this one. Well, pretty much everybody has left now, but I still have a decent amount of D2. So we're gonna just use it all up. We got this one pretty engraved granite stone that's come off of its base. It's been off for a long time by the looks of it. In fact, the first time I visited here about 5 years ago, I remember this stone being separated from the pedestal. But it's carved out like rocks, almost. Sort of look like it's been bricked, which is really cool. Get that nice and coated up. Let's see if we can find something else. Oh, this fellow over here. Robert D. Alexander, looks like a relative of a lady right there. She was also an Alexander. This gentleman was a World War I veteran in the Signal Corps. Maybe he was up in a balloon watching the Germans on the other side of the trenches across no man's land. Who knows? Here we got Carl Benjamin Garrison. He would have been World War II. Get his grave as well. Got a little granite ledger stone here. Nice, nice. Let's find some more. Over here in this area is where the Beam family is buried. Some of them. I think they were married into the Garrisons. This guy is interesting. Remember looking him up a long time ago. I remember some of the details of his service. He was a sailor in the Navy, indicated there by the anchor. But he was serving on a ship, and if I recall correctly, it's been a few years since I've done the research. He was tragically washed off of the ship and drowned. So we'll get some D2 on his stone as well. His isn't too bad. It's got some stains on it from mold. This granite, once it's polished like that, for the unpolished parts, like between and around the lettering and like the anchor up here, that stuff is very, very absorbent. Give him a good coating. He's got his last name on the back. But yeah, if I remember correctly, he died at sea. He was washed off the deck of the ship in a very tragic incident. Make sure I get every part of it. Get some of these tablets over there too. They're looking pretty rough. All right, see you on the next one. Here's a husband and wife, J.W. and Mammy F. Garrison. Born in 1847, died in 1925, 100 years ago, just a little over. And Mamie, born 1849 and died in 1938. Look at theirs coated over real quick. I think I'm going to be able to get a lot more stones than I thought I would have. I've just been kind of going in circles. So hopefully 6 months or so, this place will be in much better condition. At least looking a lot better. Maybe the stones will be Granddaddy long legs on there. Get out of there, buddy. We'll come back. Looks like our spider friend has moved along, thankfully. Let's see where he went, though. The sides, too. And the bottom. Sure it runs all the way down. Nice. All right. Well, we'll just keep moving through here. Got some nice little stones here in the back. How about this one? The lamb on it. That one's very pretty. I think it was repaired at some point. Looks like the repair has held up relatively well. It's very difficult to make out the lettering, the inscriptions on some of these. partially because of the lighting and partially because of time. Here in the upstate of South Carolina, we actually have very acidic rain, which is terrible for the inscriptions on grave markers, especially on marble, because over time, if the stone, particularly when they fall over and lay flat and the water can settle on top, leads to a lot of decay and degradation over time. This one's pretty big. Katie Kathleen Turner. If she's a Turner in this area, I'm probably related to her. Well, this guy right here. Can make out, oh, they're twin babies, 1875. I see Willie. Let's see, maybe we might be able to make it out. The bottom name is Willie, I think. Maybe you guys can decipher it and figure it out, but this one's just decayed a lot. Once had a very bright and very clear inscription. Sadly, those days are gone. Yeah, you can even see the two little footstones for the little babies. It's very sad. A lot of anguish there, I'm sure. And hopefully can honor these people. How about this? Pink R. Garrison. I'm guessing pink is short for Pinckney. Pinckney is a very prominent name here in South Carolina. Looks like Pink Garrison was born in 1853 and died in 1926. I think he is a cousin of mine. I don't remember whose son he is. What part of the exact part of the family line he belonged to. All right, I like that. William W. Tarrant, born 1838. Looks like he died in 1877. He was a Confederate veteran. Get him too. We'll just keep going till we're empty. I actually still have quite a lot, so happy about that. See where squirrels and birds have been scratching at it. Maybe some raccoons, possums too. They like to climb stuff. I'm sure they can be found on headstones sometimes. We'll get his wife's as well. But yeah, we'll hit some of these other ones. Work over into this corner where some of the oldest markers are. There's a few over here. I might film a few more, but I don't want to bore you to death by just having you watch me spray markers all day, but I really enjoy it. Hope you enjoy seeing me do it. I hope it inspires you to go spray some markers with D2 in your local cemetery, or a local cemetery with permission, of course. Don't want to get you in any trouble. But yeah, we'll check back in a second. Well, folks, I think that's about going to do it for us today in the Garrison Cemetery here in Piedmont, South Carolina. We cleared up some brush. We got that tree off of the plot where it was resting. There's still quite a lot to move out of the way over there, but it is mostly completed. I was able to spray probably 20 or 30 stones with D2, so hopefully that will kill off all that biological growth and get rid of some of the staining on them. And maybe the cemetery will look better to visitors and better from the road as people drive by. Hopefully this place will not be messed with by whichever unsavory characters have vandalized here, at least a little bit, and then other cemeteries within a short radius of here pretty extensively, such as the Charles Cemetery, which, if you've seen my videos before, that's been most of the content here on the Palmetto Cemetery and YouTube channel. But thank you so much for subscribing. If you're a subscriber, please like the video, subscribe to the channel if you have not yet. If you feel so inclined, you certainly don't have to. I'm going to be uploading probably infrequently, which isn't the formula for success on YouTube, but I'm doing the best I can, and it's really not about having some gigantic viewership or making money. It's really just about documenting history as I encounter it, because I've gotten to see some cool stuff, and only a small fraction of that is on camera. But history is everywhere, and it is very alive, and don't forget it, because we need to remember our history, and we need to keep as much of it preserved as we can, although it is kind of a losing battle, because there are hundreds and hundreds of these cemeteries here in Greenville County, and very few of which are appropriately cared for. But thanks so much for watching. I'll bring you with me on the next adventure if I can. I really appreciate it. Do like the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you want to see more. And we'll see you next time. Take care.